Welcome again to another Discover Trempealeau County show. As you know, we've been traveling the main roads and the back roads here in Trempealeau County, introducing interesting people and the interesting things that they do to you. Today we think we got a very interesting show. We're in Whitehall, right in the middle of Whitehall. We're going to be visiting the Oak Park Inn. And we're going to be visiting with Linda Mossman and Steve Sendele. Is that pronounced right?
That's close enough, Olin. Thanks.
They're the owners of the Oak Park Inn, and we're going to talk to them about the Oak Park Inn, talk a little about the history. Also, we're going to touch a little on the annual pumpkin walk that they're going to be having over the weekend here. So, Linda, let me ask you, how long have you owned the Oak Park Inn, and how did you get interested, and why did you buy it?
I knew the realtor that had the property listed from the Sabotas, and she was a good friend of mine, and she talked Stephen and I to come up and look at it in August of '98. And when we drove by, Stephen said, "No way." And then I said, "No, we've got the appointment. We got to go. We got to go to the appointment on Saturday morning." So we came on Saturday morning, and I fell in love with the place. And Stephen's been a good come along here and saying, "All right, I'll be part of this. We'll try this." So we moved in December of 1998 and have been here since then.
What was the things that kind of attracted you to the Oak Park Inn? I know that you've done a lot of very good work here on the gardens and so forth. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But what were the things originally that kind of attracted you?
Oh, and I think it was the entire setting. You know, Linda was interested in the business, so it allowed us to start a business by ourselves, the family business portion. And then also, as far as I'm concerned, it's the beauty of the place and also the history.
Tell us a little bit about the Oak Park Inn in terms of how many rooms you have, and it's kind of like a park setting here. By the way, that Oak Park Inn, was that named that before you got it, or did you put that name on this motel?
Actually, the name was changed sometime in the early 90s by the Moes when they purchased it, and it was originally the Garden Motel. And the reason they chose Oak Park Inn is this was the original Oak Park Village of Whitehall. And I think that you can't see now, but these beautiful, majestic bur oak trees that we have on the property just add to the name and really make it all something happen.
I think the name exemplifies what you have here. You know, you got a lot of nice oak, and it's an inn. And tell us a little about the motel. You know, how many rooms you have, and how many people you can accommodate, and so forth.
Well, there are 9 rooms there. We consider ourselves a country inn. We're not your typical motel, and we're not a bed and breakfast. However, the rooms are all decorated uniquely. They each have their own theme. It's carried out with the quilts, the paintings, the decor, accessories in the rooms. Then there are suites, which are in the old carriage house, and there are 3 of them. 2 two-room suites, and they have all the best amenities of a 5-star hotel. So we're pretty proud of that.
Maybe you'll tell us about the carriage house a little bit later, but why don't you that's an unusual name, carriage house.
Well, that was actually named because that's what it was. It's the old garage. And it was also, and Stephen I think is going to get in the history, but it was Harley or Hoppy Hopkins' studio when the Hopkins owned the residence. And then later on, it was a dog grooming place. It was a garage and has been converted probably sometime in the 80s to the carriage house and the suites.
Let's talk a little bit about the house in back of us here. Very unusual house, a big house. Tell us when it was built and who built it and how come it was built.
Well, it was built back in the it's kind of questionable, either 93 or 97. So it's over 100 years old. It's a century-plus home. The Hopkins originally designed it, and it was Johns Hopkins, if I remember correctly, that came as the original person with the Hopkins family. The design, as you can probably see, sorry about this. Can we do this? As you can probably see, it's somewhat of a Mount Vernon. What Mr. Hopkins tried to do was get some historical effects. So it's somewhat of the Mount Vernon effect from the Thomas Jefferson home, and then also the porte cochere goes back to the early history of America. And essentially, there's a widow's walk, which comes back from the seafaring days of Maine and also in the southern areas where the women, the wives of the actual seafarers, would actually go out on top of their house to see if the husband was coming back from sea.
That's that little railing around the chimney up there.
It's the very, very top of the house. You're totally correct.
Now, the Mount Vernon porch, I guess you'd call it here, has there been anything done to that? Have you did anything to it, or is that pretty much original?
That's pretty much original. We put a new fresh paint or fresh coat of paint on it, but other than that, it's pretty much the same as we inherited the house as.
What was that originally designed for? Is it designed for beauty? Was it designed for shade, or is it a usable porch, or what's the purpose?
Well, one of the thoughts is that it goes back to the suspected Southern heritage of the actual Hopkins family. We had some people come in this last early part of the summer, the TCBC, Twin Cities Bicycle Club, and there was a gentleman of Danish extract that was staying with us and doing the actual ride. His comment on Sunday morning when he was awoken, as it were, to enjoy the festivities, he made the comment that if he was not more aware of the fact, he would think he was in a Georgian mansion, simply because of the oaks, simply because of the setting that is here for the Oak Park Inn.
It is an unusual design, nothing like it. Nothing like it in Trempealeau County, and it is very attractive, I think, as cars go by.
There we go. Linda, come on in.
Now the Hopkins, that's kind of a famous name. There's a John Hopkins University, and there's a John Hopkins Hospital out east.
Yes.
Are these people related, the original builders of those folks?
Yes, they are. I'm not sure exactly if it's cousins, uncles, or whatever, but the family does have a similar tree.
I did notice in the old history book of Trempealeau County, written in 1917, I believe it was, by Wedge, that the Hopkins came from England originally.
Okay.
And James Hopkins, father and mother, they settled down in the town of Preston, which I found kind of interesting. I'm going to look up, I think, where that farm is located. It used to be a quite attractive farm, apparently, the Hopkins farm, in the town of Preston, and it's right along the banks of the Trempealeau River. And when they came, they built a sod house. Just think of that, that'd be either the grandfather, the great-grandfather, great-grandfather Harley. They built a sod house, and they built a log house, and then of course they built a farm, and they had a showplace of a farm down there. And James, which is a great-grandfather, I think, very active in politics. It says in the history, maybe you know this too, they had to go to Galesville because that was the closest shopping center, Galesville. And they had to go over the bluffs, to get to Galesville. And that's where they got their flour, and they, ground in the mill down there with the water wheel and so forth. So the Hopkins started from rather humble beginnings, and then here's a great-grandson that works on this house. So I thought it was really fascinating. And I just happened to notice this last weekend they're buried here in the cemetery, James, John. I didn't see Harley, but there's a Florian or something.
Yes.
They're buried in Lincoln Cemetery.
That would be Florison would be Harley's mother, and Harley is buried in the cemetery. He is the large monument in the center between his grandparents and his parents.
Well, I found it real fascinating because this is kind of known as the Hopkins house, right? In the Oak Park Inn, as part of the Oak Park Inn. What else can you tell us about Hopkins? What else did he do? Harley Hopkins, the originator, the builder of this house. He was an interior decorator, I think, and
He was on staff at the University of Minnesota, and he was an interior designer. And Harley was also a watercolorist. They're supposedly still in the community. There are some of his original watercolors here available in private homes. He was a collector. He enjoyed antiques. He was also a collector of unusual people, as we understand it, and enjoyed gourmet food. He married a Chicago socialite, and he had one stepson, and passed away quite unexpectedly on a fishing trip in Canada just a short few months after his mother passed away.
Well, in 1855, the Hopkins family came from England. They established this homestead down in Blair, near Blair, in the township of Preston. And their great-grandson, Harley, we need a little clarification. Harley came out of this Hopkins family and began establishing this home here that we see in the background, the Hopkins house at the Oak Park Inn. Tell us a little about the origin of that.
Well, as we understand it, the story has been retold to us by locals here in Whitehall. The house was actually brought into this location by a team of horses. And at the time, it was just your typical 4-square farm home. So there was nothing elaborate when this started out here in Whitehall, and Harley developed it from that point in time.
He was kind of a designer kind of a guy. He had a mental image of what he wanted, didn't he?
All in to continue with the story, from what we understand, Harley actually started redoing the Oak Park Inn, or the Hopkins house, I should say, in about 1913. It sounded as though his father was not real pleased with his desire to become an interior architect and color consultant. And so Harley actually went to the University of Wisconsin at Madison to become a physician. However, there was something called World War I that kind of stopped that whole educational process. After World War I, he came back and decided to continue his career in college, and he actually did become an interior architect and color consultant. From that point forward, he started his business in Chicago, and that's where he met his wife. Subsequently, they came back here. He has touched a lot of different lives in terms of his color consultation. According to what we know, he had quite a palette. In fact, there were some gentlemen that were on the grounds this last, August? And they talked about the University of University of Minnesota. The actual, what do they call it? The Union has a color that he has designed and has been there since like the 1940s, which is an eggplant color, and it's just supposed to be exquisite. However, I digress a little bit. I'm sorry. Subsequently, he became the person that he was. World War II came up. He was back in the Marines. He got wounded in World War II and actually became a person with the Red Cross. He was associated with the Red Cross and was involved with a Japanese internment camp. And then subsequently came back to Oak Park Inn and used this as his playground, from what we understand it, in the regards that originally the entry to the Oak Park Inn, or to the Hopkins house, was almost directly behind it or in front of us off of 53, and ended up at the carriage house. So it was a straight shot down to the garage, in quotes. He didn't like that. So he subsequently put the driveway into the east of the property.
Well, thanks to your ability to maintain everything, we're still enjoying Harley Hopkins' interior and his design ability. You mentioned a little bit earlier something about this railing, and you had a name for it on maybe we could just turn, if Wayne could, a little, this name of the railing, and that went over my head. Was that an original, or was that something that was added later? Do you know?
That is a Mount Vernon railing design, and that's what you would find on the actual mansion of Thomas Jefferson.
And so that kind of heads on over from the house over to what you call the carriage house.
Yes, that's actually the little area that between our lobby and the carriage house is what we call the porte cochere. And it's the railing. You're not able to walk on top of the buildings. However, it's carried and brings the two designs in the two different buildings together.
And it provides a kind of a roof, don't it? So Harley had that figured out. We went from the house over to his studio here, and if it was raining, it didn't get wet. Yeah. And how about the cupola on the carriage house? Is that something original, or is it designed after the original? Do you know?
No, actually, the Moes changed the pitch of that roof and added the cupola, and then changed the pitch of our garage, which is on the other side of the home, and added a cupola. So when you look at the front of the buildings from the highway, it looks symmetrical. As much of the house was designed very symmetrically.
Olin, welcome to the backyard. This is the back of the house, and we'll go through a little bit of the grounds, as it were. First of all, I'd like to talk about the sunken garden. This was, or is actually, a sunken garden, basically dating back to the English time, where this was a very formal setting. From what we understand, there was originally hydrangeas on both the east and the west aspect, so that the only way you could get into the formal gardens was past the griffins. Now, this was designed for, like I said, formal social times or high teas, etc. So people would actually come in here, play lawn games like croquet or possibly bocce ball. I don't think they had jarts back then, but they would quite enjoy the aspect of being outside, etc. I'm sorry.
The statuary on the other end, is that original?
As far as we know, yes, the griffins are original. What Linda has done is actually we've just put some planting sculptures on there so that we do maintain they're actually beautiful. There were some flowing potato vines in there earlier this summer, and they were just absolutely very, very enjoyable to the eye.
No, I saw this area, the backyard area here, and it was beautiful this summer with all the flowers and everything. This is actually still sunken here, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, we maintain it as a sunken garden, and we actually we had some bent grass to differentiate the two different areas, and there was a totally different color. However, with the drought, we kind of lost most of the bent grass because it's a little more fragile for this area.
Now, let's go walk a little further here and talk a little more about, you got a lot of things in the backyard here. A lot of planting. You've done a lot of planting yourself, haven't you, restoring? How many gardens were there originally?
Originally, there were 7 distinct gardens, and from what we understand, there was a cucumber garden all the way in back. We had some guests in earlier this summer, and they were saying that the gardens were actually specified by rows or hedges of box elder. And apparently it's not the box elder tree, but apparently it's a plant that grows very, very thickly, and they would actually just distinctly make a garden and then have the box elder around it so that it was a separate entity. And there were originally 7 different gardens, and they were basically built on the design of Versailles, France.
Wow. Have you identified all 7 areas that were gardens, or is there a little speculation on the location of all of them? It's obvious this sunken garden was one.
Yes, it's pretty much speculation from what we've seen in the history. We have not identified all 7. There's been other areas that have kept our interest.
You know, when you talk about a garden, this, what do you call these? Wade, I think, is doing some filming now. They look like huge kind of container devices of some sort. They look about 4 feet high or so. Are they original?
They are original. These are Egyptian water urns, and they're made out of a cement or a concrete type base. And what eventually happened was when the estate was sold at auction, 2 of them had gotten purchased by a local Whitehall resident, and apparently there was somewhat of a tiff between the male and female, the husband and wife, as it were. He hated them. And eventually they made their way out to a chicken coop. And when the Moes took over the Oak Park Inn again, they actually got these returned to them. And I think the producer was relatively happy to get them out of the farm.
Well, that's remarkable, you know, that you got original statuary. And you said they're maybe from Egypt?
They're Egyptian water urns. Essentially before, from what we understand, the history of these is that before there was a common area for a water trough per se, they would have the people that would come into the town, the visitors, etc., would be able to dip water from these water urns, and it would be a sanitary drink.
I notice next to these water urns, there's 4 of them here, but there's steps that go up, and they apparently are original steps.
They are the original steps. You're totally correct.
And then what do they have on the top here? This on top of this escarpment here. Was that another garden?
Those were the other gardens. Yes, you're totally correct. From what I do understand, to the northeast, that would have been where the cucumber garden would have actually been located.
You know, you stop to think of it, there's a lot of work. I'm involved with little gardening. It's on a very small scale, but there's a lot of work, keeping up gardens. And you're doing a good job here. You're finding that to be a lot of work. 7 gardens, I can't imagine. He must have had a full-time or 2 people working on gardens through the summer just to maintain them.
From what we understand, and again, this is some of the story that has come back to us, there were 7 full-time employees with the Hopkins house, and that included the gardening, etc. One of the employees was also a person of color, a woman that came up from the south, from what we understand, named Ida May. Her last name is Van Sickle. We understand that she was born somewhere in the vicinity of 1857, but we're not quite sure on her demise. And also, from what we understand, because of her color, she was not allowed into the public cemetery here. And so she's actually buried on property.
She's buried in your garden?
Yes, she is.
Does she have a marker?
Yes, she does. And we can see it in a bit if you'd like.
Yeah, let's go over and take a look.
Olin, we've continued over towards the east, towards the motel, actually, for about 30 feet. And this is the actual burial site of Ida May. And unfortunately, we don't see too much of the... we can determine her name is Ida May Van Sickle, and we can kind of get the birth date. But as far as the records go for her demise, we don't know, unfortunately. But she is in the northern aspect of the hosta bed. She's in a very, very enjoyable resting place.
Well, it's real nice. You're keeping it up here. You're keeping the grave area up, and you're keeping flowers and hostas and so forth around the grave, which is very nice to do. I wonder if there's any way that stone could be cleaned up in any way. Do you know of any process for that?
Well, I'm not familiar, no. So if anybody that's listening would like to inform us, that'd be fine.
Yeah, it'd be nice to kind of make it so it's a little more clear to read. This is located right in the middle of the gardens here, actually, right next to your motel. And I imagine you get a lot of people wandering around down through here in the gardens in the summertime, enjoying the scenic beauty and the trees and the shade.
You're totally correct. Actually, what we've done is at the north side of the carriage house, we've purchased a couple little bistro tables, and we put those on the back of like suite number 3, where the guests can just come out and enjoy a coffee or a summer book or whatever they'd like to do. But we do have quite a few of the guests that actually do enjoy roaming around the gardens. We've had people that have stayed with us over an extended period of time that believe and they get the tranquility out of the Oak Park Inn. We've had several different folks say that this is the best they've slept in years, which is quite nice and due to the peaceful environment.
Well, it is located quite a ways away, the rooms back here from the road, so you don't hear road noise or anything, do you?
Exactly.
Now, you have quite a few gardens, and you've done a lot of planting since you've been here, and you must do a lot of work. You have employees too, don't you?
We have a couple employees with us, yes, that work full-time. And Linda and I try to do as much as we can on the weekends. But there'd be no way in heck that we could do this without the family association also. It's very important.
I wonder, you've got more gardens, more in the southern part, south of us here, and the other side of the house, of the carriage house. Shall we go over and take a look at some of those gardens?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Here's some of our friendly gnomes.
Steve, as we're walking toward the other gardens, we notice that as the people enter with their cars, enter the Hopkins house or the Oak Park Inn, they go between 2 small buildings.
Yes.
I imagine they're original, and what were their purpose?
They are original, and these were the original gatehouses. From what we understand, going back to the carriage house again, this is, some associations. The carriage house was the original garage. And so the carriages would be put into the carriage house while the people that were being entertained were inside having a good time. And then the drivers of the carriages were out in the guardhouses playing cards or whatever they were doing, waiting for their associates to get done with their party.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'd rather be inside.
They probably brought out a little rum or beer or something for the drivers,
There you go. Very nice.
Now we're entering another area to our left here. Explain this area as we're walking to it, Steve.
Well, this was the original rose garden from what we understand. And we've unearthed a couple little areas which we haven't gotten to. This is one area that has, I can't say been neglected because we maintain it in terms of cutting grass, etc. But we haven't done a whole lot in terms of bringing it back to its original state. From what we do understand, though, there was an original garden back there, and there's a memorial to June. And June was a dog, apparently the family pet. And they determined that they were going to give her repose also, similar to Ida May. And so there's a little statuary here in memorial to June. So we did get that information from a couple visitors that we had this previous summer. And so we do have this nice little area here, and it's quite tranquil. You know, I mean, you can come back here, sit down. We've had some people that have had little picnics up in the area towards the east, where we have a resident ghost at this point. And then behind us, or the area that we're in, was the actual rose garden. And the old pump house, or the old pump, is actually behind us over to the east.
Do you think, Steve, that the area that we're filming from right now, the Rose Garden, do you think there was another garden up, a little terrace escarpment there,
Yes.
and there's a little planter or something over there? Do you think that was another garden?
Yeah, actually, in fact, Olin, if you continue that way, we have the little planter, and behind the planter is another little area. So I'm not sure exactly what those were. It could have been an herb garden, could have been a vegetable garden or something of this nature. But as we have in the past, as you know, you can kind of see here, there's different blocks on the ground that seem to be a demarcation line for perhaps another garden that would have been here earlier. Maybe raspberries, because we do have wild raspberries on the property.
This is a big area that we're walking through. How many acres do you have here?
We have approximately 4.
And this is all part of the original Harley Hopkins property?
Yes, originally the Hopkins house, from what we understand, was approximately the full block. And then eventually, the way we understand it, at least north of the pine trees, at the very north end of the property, were the homes that were associated with the full-time employees. And then eventually little districts or little plots of land were sold off for other folks to put up their houses.
Well, you had a lot of people on hands and knees on these gardens, I'll tell you.
I believe you're right.
Now, have you got another garden or something over in the area toward the highway here?
Yes, we have a little circle, and earlier this summer, where you can see the actual ornamental grasses, there were cannas. And unfortunately, because of the wet spring, and we have a tremendous grove of shade that comes off of those oak trees in the beginning, we didn't get real hot weather either. Our cannas did not really become too fruitful, as it were, or beautiful until cheapers, probably about September. And then, you know, we do see I'm not sure if Wade can get a shot of the actual gates that the people do. Okay.
Go a little closer. But talking about gates, there appears to be 4 kind of gate areas. They're made out of concrete blocks, probably blocks made somewhere right here in Whitehall at one time. But what they would indicate what? Entrance to a flower garden or something?
I would suspect so, yes. And they somewhat reflect the gates of the entryway.
Yes, they're the same design, aren't they?
Exactly.
Well, Steve, shall we walk over and get another look at one of these 7 formal gardens?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Olin, we're at the very, very front, or the south part of the property. As you can probably hear, there's some trucks going by. And this is the original lily pond. We also call it the reflecting pond. We started working on this probably 3 years ago. It was the first summer we were actually here. And this is where they enjoyed the outside with lilies, which is kind of enjoyable, intriguing by all means.
This is original now, these rock and everything on the surface, I'm sure. Was it filled with dirt, or how did you find it originally?
We found it in a kind of unusual condition. It had not been used for quite some time. As you stated, there's a lot of work that's associated with the Oak Park Inn, and this is one of the areas that had kind of gone down. We didn't have the amount of full-time employees that the Hopkins were available to. So subsequently, what we have done is, it is a concrete pond, and we have taken out the original water inlet to the pond and put in some clear plastic liner. we started back in '99, and Ashley had it kicked up for a couple times, but we didn't have a big enough pump, so it wasn't a big enough squirt of water for my wife Linda. So unfortunately, we haven't gotten back to it, but I suspect that we will do something probably this summer. And it is bounded by the original stone fence.
Do you think this was kind of sealed with concrete or something? You got obviously plastic, that's a recent development, but originally when Harley Hopkins constructed this, was this sealed some way with, did you get any clue?
Yeah, it is total concrete. You're totally correct.
And it was served, to your understanding, you mentioned spigots, so there was running water here continually, do you think?
Actually, a lead dolphin that was the centerpiece of the lily pond, but we haven't been able to find that one yet either. So if anybody out there has the lead dolphin from the lily pond, we'd be interested in it. Thank you.
How about this lion that I think Wade is filming? Is that original?
From what we understand, yes, the statuary is original, because we have them scattered throughout the towards the front of the house also. And they're not quite in as good a repair as this one is.
And the foundation for the statue, for the lion, is original too, I presume.
Yes, and that'd be very, very reflective on what we were seeing with the entry gates, etc.
Well, this is only like maybe 100 feet or less from the Hopkins house, from your home, so it's got to be a real nice setting here. A lot of trees around, shade, flowers, and it gives you a certain amount of quietness here, I think.
It does, especially in the summertime when it gets to be about 7 or 8 o'clock at night and most of the traffic or most of 53 is quieted down. We have had some of our guests come and sit on the benches and just enjoy the tranquility, read some books, etc., and just enjoy the setting. You're totally correct.
Wow, what a lot of work.
We get back
You guys are
yes.
You guys are young and ambitious, I think.
Thank you.
Well, I think you're going to have a big event tonight. We want to touch on it just a little bit tonight and tomorrow night, the annual pumpkin walk. So why don't we maneuver up where some of the pumpkins are and talk a little about that, Steve?
Sounds great. Thanks.
How long have you been doing this?
We've done the pumpkin walk for the last 3 years. It's been something that has been continued by the Oak Park Inn. The Sabota is actually the ones that started it. But this is the 6th annual Great Pumpkin Walk. And we purchase the pumpkins locally and essentially provide them free of charge to the community. And the desire is for the kids to come in, pick a winning pumpkin, carve them, bring them back, and then we offer some good gifts at the end of the evening.
Let me ask you, who's eligible to participate in this pumpkin walk? Who's eligible? Is it just for Whitehall, or is it other towns?
Anybody that wants to come, we're open.
Oh, you're open to anybody that wants to participate.
Totally correct.
And I think I heard you say you purchase the pumpkins. You purchase the pumpkins, or they provide the pumpkins?
No, we purchase the pumpkins for the community. The only thing we do ask is for the people that do come to the pumpkin walk is to bring a can of food for the local food pantry and the Boy Scouts. See, the neat thing again is that a lot of the community members get associated with us. We have the FFA that's going to start some building of a structure that was with us last year, which is an oak bale maze, so the kids can actually crawl around on the ground in a maze, go over some green grapes and things of this nature, which is spooky. And then we also have a pumpkin ring toss, bobbing for apples, and face painting out on the front, the front lawn, if you'd like to look at it that way. And then we have the pumpkins actually put around the whole back of the yard. They'll be lit at night. It's quite enjoyable. As you can see, we have different varieties this year. We have an American flag with some association of the September 11th tragedy. And then we also have a little structure behind us, which is called the Bat Cave.
Well, let me ask you a few questions about these pumpkins. Now, you purchase the pumpkins, they pick the pumpkins up, and they do the carving and bring them back. Am I right?
You're totally correct. We do have a couple retired, from what I understand, teachers from the Whitehall School District that come in and actually judge the pumpkin for best of age, for the adults, for the youngsters, the scariest, the spookiest, the cutest, you name it. As you can see, there's whole different bunches of pumpkins here, and they're all quite original.
You have a lot of categories then that receive prizes, don't you? You have a lot of prizes that are given.
Yes, we do.
You have any idea how many?
I think that we give away 4 in each group. So there's approximately 16 to 20 different prizes.
Oh, boy. So you provide the pumpkins and provide the prizes? Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Well, that's pretty generous. Now, there's quite a variety of this. Are these all original? They go home, they do the carvings and whatever they come up with?
As far as we know, they're totally original. There's no pumpkins that have been done professionally.
Well, there are some really unique ones as we look around here. There's a lot of unique, different types of faces. There's some that look pretty happy and some that look a little scary.
Skull and crossbones over there on that pumpkin.
Yeah, and then there's one with a cat over here, a cat face, I believe.
Yeah,
that's quite a unique design, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's really neat. I think there's been a couple books that we have seen, and also the internet provides some of the original ideas.
Are all these, I don't know what the word is, cleaned out? So they're all cleaned out?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they're all scooped out. That's really nice. It helps us a lot. The biggest thing is we've recently purchased a bunch of the electric matches so that we can keep these all lit for the next 2 coming days.
Explain that to me. I don't know what you mean.
Well, the electric match is just one of those long lighters, as it were. But we need to keep these all lit for the pumpkin walk with live candles in them. So it's just the people that do help us. There's some high school kids that help us make sure that we've got candles in the pumpkins and make sure that they're properly lit so they can give the desired effect.
So what time does a pumpkin walk normally start, and what time does it end? Does it run one night or 2 nights?
We run Friday and Saturday night, and it starts at dark or dusk, somewhere in that vicinity, and usually runs till about 9 o'clock. And we have, let me see, the Girl Scouts will be out here again over by Carriage House, Suite Number 1, and they'll be providing things like hot apple cider and coffee and Rice Krispie bars, cookies, brownies, etc. for purchase, which is really nice.
Who is the pumpkin walk open for?
Everybody. Again, it's open to all people that are willing to come to the Oak Park Inn. But again, we just ask for the admission price, just bring some canned goods for the food pantry for Whitehall.
Very, very good. I can imagine. How many pumpkins do you have around here? I can imagine. It's almost lit up, I think.
It's quite enjoyable. We had them all lit last night. Travis had them all lit up, and they were just enjoyable. The other aspect that Wade has kind of got in the background is the Scarecrow contest. This is our first entry. We've got a Scarecrow contest going on this year, and this was donated or brought in by the Junior High Luther League, I believe, if I remember correctly. First entrance, and we're going to have live scarecrows and then also scarecrows made up such as this one.
How about those just off to the left of the scarecrow? It looks like some skeletons that look pretty quite realistic. Is that a contest too? Or?
Those were some of the clients that didn't pay their bills. No, I'm totally kidding. No, those are just plastic heads. And Travis, our younger son, is doing a little mobile, as it were. From what we're trying to do, we're trying to get some authentic looking blood coming out of the top skull and kind of cascading over the bottom too on a recirculating pump.
So it's a little scary out here too. I kind of take it during the pumpkin walk. Right over next to the house here, Steve, I noticed there's some kind of unusual designs. There looks like bats and limbs of trees and what have you. Explain what that is and what the purpose of that is for the pumpkin walk.
This is somewhat a carryover of last year. At the Portico Share last year, we had the Bat Cave, and that was the actual entry into this area. We have transformed this little nook, which is just in front of the breakfast room, into the Bat Cave this year. Now there's a little soft sculpture there, and this is kind of the thought of good and evil. We have church lights associated with the Bat Cave. Characteristically, this is where our storytellers will sit. A couple of the retired school teachers from the Whitehall system come in. We provide the straw bales, and they'll actually sit and tell stories to the little toddlers. So we'll get the young guys that are a little, not as brave as some of their older brothers and sisters, that'll sit around and listen to the stories that are being told by the tellers. So it's quite enjoyable.
We've noticed as we travel around this morning that you have a few ghost-like objects here and there around the grounds. Do you have any live ghosts, that are moving around?
Well, there have been some guests that have told us that they've been visited by Item yes.
So it's you got to have good heart when you come out here for the pumpkin walk. I kind of take it.
Tell you, yes, it's got to be an enjoyable time by all means.
Well, we sure wouldn't want to wade out here running around without a mask. It'd scare the heck out of everybody. Well, we're right next. We're right next to the house, and maybe we can walk in the house and just take a look around a little bit. Would that be all right?
Oh, and I tell you what, there's a little chill in the air, so why don't we go in and have a cup of coffee? That'd be great.
Sounds great.
Olin Wade's currently in the office area, and this is decorated seasonally by Linda, which leads us to our breakfast room, which is available for the guests. We have some guests that come in and actually enjoy reading, but characteristically we offer a continental breakfast in the morning. And then the neat thing is that this overlooks the gardens, as it were, and spring, summer, fall, whichever. It's just an idyllic place to look out. So thank you for attending the Oak Park Inn.
Thank you. We really enjoyed the trip around the grounds here at the Oak Park Inn, the Hopkins house. Enjoyed talking to you about the big, what do you call it, the Great Pumpkin Walk here in Whitehall. And it's been a really enjoyable time with you, Steve. We thank you for all your time. We appreciate it very much. And thank you so much. And we hope, we know the people enjoyed out in Trumpealeau County Community Television. Thank you.
Thanks so much.